Gervonta Tank Davis and Lamont Roach Jr. just had their final face-off before their upcoming fight, and it was nothing short of intense. Emotions were running high, with both fighters coming into the moment with a lot to prove. As the main event looms, the pressure was palpable. For weeks, fans had been questioning whether this was the right matchup, and the build-up to the final face-off only added to the drama. Critics have been vocal about the fight, with many arguing that Roach doesn't have the star power or the resume to be sharing the ring with someone like Tank Davis. Roach's resume is solid, but it doesn't compare to Tank's, who is widely regarded as one of the most feared punchers in boxing today. This mismatch, according to many, doesn't seem to hold up when compared to the huge names that Tank should be challenging as he heads into what is expected to be his final year in boxing in 2025. The critics were wondering why Tank wasn't fighting the biggest names in the sport. Instead of challenging top-tier opponents, he's taking on a fighter like Lamont Roach, a man who hasn't been able to make the same kind of impact in the sport. The tension was already building before the final face-off, and when the two fighters stepped up to face each other, it was clear this was going to be an explosive moment. Tank, as always, walked in with the quiet confidence of a man who has nothing left to prove. His body language was calm, yet intimidating. For Tank, this was another day in the office, and nothing seemed to rattle him. This is part of what makes Tank such a dangerous fighter, his ability to maintain his focus and demeanor under pressure, a trait that has led to his fearsome reputation. Tank Davis is a special kind of fighter. There was a time when boxing was filled with unique talents who brought something different to the table. Muhammad Ali was known for his movement, George Foreman for his punching power, Larry Holmes for his jab, and Mike Tyson for his overhand right. Today, Tank Davis stands out as the knockout artist of his division. While other fighters, like Garcia, also possess knockout power, Tank is known for his ability to end a fight with a single punch. When Tank hits, it's a problem for his opponents. The reality is Tank's knockout power is in a class of its own, and this makes him one of the most dangerous fighters in the world. But as fans have pointed out, Tank sometimes gets a bit too comfortable when he knows he can beat someone. He has been known to take fights lightly when he feels like the competition isn't on his level, which raises concerns that he may underestimate his opponents. This has happened in the past, and it can be dangerous. When Tank underestimates someone, it's possible for him to leave himself open for an upset. That said, when Tank is truly locked in and faces a challenge, he's a force to be reckoned with. Lamont Roach, on the other hand, entered the face-off with a different mentality. He's hungry, determined, and ready to prove everyone wrong. Roach knows that the boxing world is doubting him, and he's fully aware of the fact that most people think he doesn't stand a chance against someone like Tank. But that's exactly why Roach looks so focused and locked in. He's coming into this fight with a chip on his shoulder, knowing that this could be his one shot to shock the world. Roach is a talented fighter, but he has always been overshadowed by bigger names in the sport. He may not have the same star power or the same level of recognition as Tank, but he has a deep hunger to prove himself. In fact, some of the most respected figures in boxing have highlighted just how sneaky good Roach can be. He has a natural ability to catch opponents off guard with his combination punches, often landing shots at will without them even seeing it coming. He's not the flashiest fighter, but Roach is a seasoned competitor who can surprise you when you least expect it. That's part of what makes him dangerous in this fight. Tank may be underestimating him, but Roach knows how to take advantage of an opening. Despite being the underdog, Roach is confident. He knows the odds are against him, but he's not fazed. He understands that Tank has experience, speed, and power on his side. He knows Tank has more weapons in his arsenal, but he also believes he can find a way to exploit the gaps in Tank's defense. Roach is coming into this fight as a competitor who refuses to back down. This isn't just about winning a title for him, it's about proving to the world that he belongs in the ring with the best, regardless of the doubters. The face-off between Tank and Roach wasn't just another typical stare-down. There was personal history between the two fighters that added an extra layer of intensity. Tank and Roach have faced each other in the amateurs, with Tank coming out on top each time they've met. Their first encounter took place at the Junior Olympics, followed by another match in the Nationals. In their amateur days, Tank always seemed to edge Roach, and he's made sure to remind him of this whenever the opportunity arises. Roach has never beaten Tank, and that history has haunted him. But Roach has matured as a fighter since then, and he's no longer the same competitor he was in the amateurs. He's more seasoned and more focused, and he's ready to take on the challenge once again. Although the final face-off was filled with tension and raw emotions, it was clear that Tank was unbothered by the moment. He's been here before, and nothing seems to faze him. Roach, on the other hand, is determined to prove that he's not just another stepping stone for Tank. He wants to prove that he can hang with one of the best fighters in the world. And this fight represents much more than just a title for Roach. It's about proving the critics wrong and silencing the doubters who have said he doesn't belong in the same ring as Tank. As for Tank, his mindset heading into this fight is different from the one Roach has. While Roach is hungry to prove himself, Tank is already looking beyond this fight. He's stated publicly that 2025 will be his final year in boxing, and this has led many fans to question why he's taking fights like this one. Critics have been vocal about the lack of a major storyline behind this fight, and they've been calling for Tank to face off against some of the bigger names in the sport, like Shocker Stevenson. There's a sense that Tank's career could end without the kind of legacy defining fight fans expect. A fight against Shocker Stevenson, who has been calling out Tank for years, would be the kind of match that could solidify Tank's place as one of the best in his generation. But instead of challenging the top-tier fighters, Tank is taking on Roach, a fighter who has never beaten him in the past and doesn't seem to have the same kind of star power. This has led to frustration from fans who believe Tank should be fighting the best to cement his legacy. The back and forth between Tank and Shocker Stevenson has been one of the most talked about rivalries in boxing. The two have been taking shots at each other online and in interviews for years. There's real animosity between them, and the tension is palpable. A fight between Tank and Shocker would carry weight, and it's one fans have been eagerly awaiting. But for now, Tank is focusing on Lamont Roach, even if it's not the fight people expected to see. Roach, for his part, knows that this is his shot to prove that he belongs at the top level. He has faced his share of criticism, but he's not backing down. The reality is, this fight is personal for Roach. He wants to prove that he's not just another opponent for Tank to beat. He wants to show the world that he's more than just a filler fight for Tank, and he believes this is his chance to make a statement. Ultimately, while this fight may not be the one fans were hoping for, it's still one that will capture attention. Roach is coming into this fight with bad intentions, and even though he may be the underdog, he's not going to back down. Tank, on the other hand, seems to be treating this fight as just another day at the office, but that could be his biggest mistake. If Tank underestimates Roach, he could find himself in a real fight come fight night. In the end, this fight may not be the most hyped or the most glamorous, but it's still going to be an interesting one. Roach might not have the star power or the resume of some of Tank's other potential opponents, but he's coming into this fight with a determination to prove the critics wrong. He's not just fighting for a title, he's fighting to show that he belongs in the ring with the best. And if he can pull off the upset, it will go down as one of the biggest surprises in recent boxing history.